I mean, I got it to a point where it's actually like pretty comfortable. Like I enjoy being in here and I look forward to every night getting in my tent.
I really wanted to put together like an 8 to 10 part series on doing the Pacific Northwest Trail. I kind of want to just introduce it to you, even if you don't want to do the entire PNT, you just want to do a section of it. This is a phenomenal hike just to break up into sections. For my first episode on the PNT, I wanted to do essential gear, including my tent, my pack, my sleeping bag, my sleeping pad, and my stove. I think your gear is it's a personal preference. Everybody's different. There's no right or wrong. You just have to find what works for you. I knew I had some really long distances, especially through the Satan Wilderness and the North Cascades. So I knew I was gonna be carrying a lot of food, so I needed my gear to be as light as possible. Okay, enough of the chit chatter. Let's get into it. Let's have some fun. Not a lot of fun, just like the right amount. The first piece of gear that I got asked the most about was my tent. I did this thing when I was hiking. I would put a picture of my camping spot for the night and I called it tent situation.
My tent is a big Agnus Tiger Wall UL2. It's a backpacking tent. I don't know how much it weighs, but it basically weighs the equivalent of a half a feather. It's very, very light. I went with a 2-person tent because I'm 5'10", and I like to sleep with my legs like this. And I wanted the room to spread out because some of those 1-person tents are a little restricting. I wanted the extra space, so I was willing to get a bigger tent and I would say carry the extra weight, but this tent is extremely light.
I'm reading this information off rei.com. It's a 3-season tent. It weighs 2 pounds, 3 ounces. That was what appealed to me so much. This is an extremely lightweight backpacking tent. The floor area is 28 square feet. It is not a freestanding tent, so you have to stake in the 2 ends by your feet. If you don't do that, it's gonna kind of topple over.
Okay, despite it being so wet the last couple days, this campsite's pretty amazing. This is my tent situation. Look at that.
I put this tent through the ringer. I was in hailstorms, rainstorms, windstorms, extreme heat. On the Pacific Northwest Trail, it's very wet.
Okay, we're starting day 2 of the Satan. And shit, was it windy last night!
I did have one night in the North Cascades where I pitched my tent at night and I couldn't see what was around me, and I ended up pitching it next to just a ton of dead brush, which comes with mice who live there.
Those mice were they were jumping on my tent last night. Like I see them scrambling on the outside, and I'd pop and I'd hit them and I hear them land, but I got away with 1 hole, damn it.
But I had a lot of fun with this tent. I felt very comfortable in it. At night when I was inside, especially going through the mountains in the middle of nowhere, I felt very protected. I felt very comfortable in it. It dries super, super fast. If I got 10 to 15 minutes of sun, I can dry the entire tent out. The wind fly that goes over the top of it to protect you from rain, it could have been a little bit longer. I felt like when it was set up, when it would rain, the rain splatter on the ground would splatter dirt on my tent. And so if that was just maybe 2 inches longer in all directions. Another thing I wanted to say, a lot of people have those tents that you put up with your trekking poles. It's just personal preference. Picking a tent though is such a big deal. It's very stressful. I had a really, really hard time deciding, and at the last minute, I ultimately picked this one because of the weight. It's one of the lightest tents on the market, and it just made sense for me and what I wanted. All right, moving on to my pack. This pack is designed for hikers who want to take on some serious miles. My My pack is from a company called Waymark Gear Company. This pack was introduced to me by PCT hiker Jennifer Mavis, who I spotlighted last year. This is a 50-liter frameless pack. So mine, I believe, is the Through series. So if you go to the website, you see mine's the Through series. The greatest thing about a Waymark pack is its simplicity. My first reaction was like, where am I gonna put everything? Because there's literally one pouch in the very front. I was a little nervous because I'm used to those big backpacker things with the pockets all over the place and I could stuff things. Purchasing a Waymark bag, it forces you to become very minimalistic on the trail. You don't need half of the things you think you need. I didn't have room to put things, but ultimately that made it so much better for me because my pack was lighter, and as I progressed over the 71 days on trail, I got it down to a science of what I needed. All right, I just wanted to read something from Waymark's website. Waymark Gear Company is an online outdoor gear company specializing in selling customizable, handcrafted, heavy-duty, ultralight backpacks and accessories tailored to thru hikers, section hikers, backpackers, and outdoor enthusiasts looking to drop pounds in your overall base weight. The other great thing about this pack is that when I would get to towns, I would unload all of my gear and then just put my laundry, like my dirty clothes, and then fold the pack down because you can make it smaller because it's frameless. So you can actually make it however big or small you want it. So I'd roll it down and then wear it as a smaller pack to go to the laundromat and then do my laundry, and then come back and then the next day pack all my stuff and just make it bigger. So it extends and then it compresses. On this trail, it's a rugged trail. You're going over and under trees and branches. This is what I'm talking about. Ooh! You gotta go over each one super slow because these freaking things jab out. Oh my god. This is the hardest part so far of this entire trail, is getting through this. This sucks. My legs are freaking just mangled right now. I kept feeling my pack snag, but never once did it rip. I was surprised. A few times I would feel my pack pull and I'm like, oh, I definitely have a massive, massive hole in it. And never. The material held up beautifully. Oh, here he is. This is my pack. This is it right here. I actually have stuff in it, so it's kind of big right now. But my favorite colors are red and blue. And then I added like a mustard color at the base. But it's super, super minimalistic. There's no frame. It kind of hugs your back really well. If I had to pick one thing that I didn't like about the pack, and this is something that is not Waymark's fault at all, it is 100% my fault. There were a lot of times on the PNT where I had to lean to go under dead trees. And every time I would lean, my water bottle would completely fall out of the side pocket. The side pockets were not deep enough for me. And I know that they do have an option to get deep pockets. So if you are ordering a pack and you plan on using a smart water bottle, this was my whole smart water bottle system with a Sawyer squeeze on the top, it's too tall and they just kept falling out of my pack. Just make sure that you get the deeper pockets if you are ordering this pack. If you want to take your hiking to the next level, I would highly recommend getting a bag like this that doesn't have all those compartments for your knickknacks, and go more simply because you really don't need half the things that you think you need. If you want to order one of these packs, you go to their website, a link is in the description below, and you can actually customize your entire pack. From the color, to the material, to the pockets. You can basically customize everything. My experience on the PNT, this was an extremely comfortable pack. Very durable. I will be using it moving forward. Maybe I'll get a different one, a different color. Special thank you to Jordan Sessions, who's helping me shoot some B-roll today.
Ugh, taking a nap.
It's been raining, but it's kind of perfect because the lighting has been like freaking amazing. Oh, there she goes. Okay, here we go, moving on. Let me grab it. God, the stove thing. Do you bring a stove? Do you not bring a stove?
Either you want hot food or you're gonna go cold soaking. I wanted to bring a stove on the PNT because I love to cook, I love food. I wanted to cook every night. When I got to camp, that was very enjoyable to take 20, 30 minutes out just to chill and like make a meal. That's what I looked forward to.
All right, on the menu tonight, overlooking the water. Let's just throw that in there. Couscous with beans. And then I'm actually gonna add a little Parm cheese on there.
I don't care about how much space it takes in my pack. I wanted to cook. I love doing that in my own personal life off trail. I've had this particular Jetboil for about, going on 6 years. Jetboil is just such a reliable product. I had this and it's practical. It's worked for me in the past. So I have a Jetboil Zip. The fuel is isobutane propane. It says average boil time is 5 minutes for a liter. This thing filled with water boils, I want to stay in like 60 seconds, like super, super fast. So you constantly have to just watch it. Liquid capacity is 0.8 liters. The weight is 11.75 ounces. That's not that heavy. To me, it was totally worth it. Inside, I always had my lighter, and then I cut a sponge in half, so I always had a little sponge so I can clean it. I really don't have anything negative to say about it. In a whole nother episode, I'm gonna do my main food I ate on the trail and just kind of break it down for you and give you some ideas on what you can eat if you do want to go on a longer backpacking trip. Everybody loves food.
This is me bracing for a cold one. Tonight is gonna be so cold, but there's no buts. It's gonna be freaking cold. I have so many layers.
Let's keep this freaking party going, man. I'm having a blast. My sleeping bag was an REI Igneo 17-degree sleeping bag, and it was a men's. I chose men's because I am a bigger girl, and I like that extra room. The men's, I felt, gave me a little bit more room in my shoulders and just a little bit more comfort. As I said earlier, when I picked out my tent, I do like to sleep with my foot, with my knee bent, and I like to take over. I can't be like this, it'll drive me absolutely crazy. Tested lower limit is 17 degrees, so you always add 10 to that. So therefore, in 27, 28 degrees is probably the lowest I want to sleep in. The coldest it got for me was 43 degrees.
Made a fire. It's gonna be a cold one tonight. We're like by ourselves and it's freezing. I have a feeling none of us are gonna sleep tonight.
No.
Because
it's
really cold. You know what? I'm sorry. I just said it was cold, but it's actually, I thought it would be a little bit colder. Give it another hour, and that's kind of what I thought. All right, here we go. Good night, Jay Sesh.
Good night.
All right, good night.
The weight is about 2 pounds, 2 ounces. This sleeping bag is a 700 fill duck down. I didn't zip myself up. I kept the zipper open and put my feet into the bottom and then just draped it around me so I was not sleeping on my sleeping bag. I was so much more comfortable. I was able to move and it kept me warm on the top, especially towards the end along the coast to Cape Alava. The way I packed it in my bag was, it comes with a fabric stuff sack. I didn't use that. I just stuffed my sleeping bag in the morning just right down at the bottom of my bag and then just piled my stuff on top. So if you are looking for a sleeping bag, definitely check this one out. If you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. All right, moving on. Oh my God, what do we got now? My sleeping pad. Oh, my sleeping pad. Oh man, you know what? I just gotta grab something. I started with this, and I actually don't know the name of it, but I'm gonna put it right here. This was such a comfortable sleeping pad, but I couldn't use it anymore. It was just too big and too clunky. Oh my God, it just took so much energy to wrap it up. It's very comfortable, but it became too much work. So I ended up using Jordan's sleeping pad for probably 60 days on the PNT. So my sleeping pad for a majority of the PNT was a Sea to Summit Comfort Light Insulated Sleeping Pad. R value is 4.2. Pad thickness is 2.5 inches. The weight is 1 pound and 10.6 ounces, and that's for a long. This was an extremely light sleeping pad. The best thing about it too is in the morning, if you blow it up, it takes 2 seconds to blow up. When you pull out the valve, all of the air comes out in like a second, and then it rolls up beautifully, it packs beautifully, and it just got to be very practical. One thing I didn't like about the sleeping pad, and this is something that other backpackers have said, it's noisy. And this is kind of a weird thing, but in the middle of the night, if I had to move, it was like I was turning on what's that? The white plastic cups.
Oh, styrofoam.
Styrofoam. It felt like I was turning on styrofoam, so it's just it makes a lot of noise as you're turning. When I'm alone, I really don't care, but when I was around other backpackers, every time I had to turn, I was like, okay, and I would do it really fast just to get the sound over with. I will continue to use it despite that. Yeah, it didn't puncture, amazing product. Just a little noisy. These are my main 5 pieces of gear that I used on the PNT. All the stuff I showed you in today's episode, I will continue to use because they worked for me. And like I said earlier, gear is all personal preference. You just have to kind of find what works for you and what you're comfortable with. And also too, once you get out there, you really figured it out. Like with the sleeping pad, I realized that one wasn't working for me and I swapped it out. So that's how you learn too. You just have to get out there. When I was researching gear before the PNT, I learned a lot through YouTube. And so I like making these videos, introducing you guys to products you might not know about, because this is how I learned. So I feel like I'm contributing to the YouTube party. If you have any pieces of gear that you absolutely love that you want me to check out or review or make videos on, just please direct message me on Instagram. My handle is right here. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. If you didn't, I'm sorry I wasted all your time. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. I gotta do a better bye. I gotta get my bye better. Bye-bye. Oh God, I need to get a life. These lights are just cooking my face off. This is Cannoli. He's the real star of the show. I was like, la, 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 la. Okay. All of the gear in the all of the all right. Okay. It's so stupid. Listen. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not gonna put that in there, but maybe I will. Okay.